This session is being recorded. I'm Erin Olson, and welcome to Teaching News Literacy Made Easy. Please access the resource document using the QR code or the link on your screen. My colleague Ryan Lynn will be available in the chat to answer your questions. Founded in 2008, the News Literacy Project is a nonpartisan education nonprofit that works with educators, school districts, and states to ensure students receive news literacy instruction before they graduate from high school. Students gain the knowledge and ability to think critically for themselves and become well-informed members of civic society. Our resources are all free. Our vision is that students are skilled in news literacy before they graduate high school. This is a discipline within media literacy focused on specific non-ideological principles in teaching. News literacy teaches students how to think about news and information, not what to think. It helps students recognize the characteristics of credible information and how to use these attributes to make personal decisions about what to trust. During our time together, I will highlight our browser-based digital learning platform, the Checkology Virtual Classroom. It is a one-stop shop that gives educators tools to teach news literacy to middle school and high school students with topical and engaging lessons. In addition, we do have supports for elementary educators in the resource library. Checkology teaches students how to identify credible information, seek out reliable sources, and spot misinformation. For those of you who like to be in the thing while you learn about the thing, head to checkology.org and get registered for a free account. Note, there are multiple ways to register: Clever or single sign-on with Google and Microsoft, along with simply registering with your email. Once you are signed into Checkology, you will see your dashboard with the SIFT on the right-hand side. Notice the slide decks that accompany the SIFT. Not only can you access this from your dashboard, you can choose to subscribe. Our free weekly newsletter, The SIFT, offers classroom-ready lessons based on a rundown of the latest topics in news literacy, including trends and issues and misinformation, social media, artificial intelligence, and journalism. One of the two slide decks accompanying the SIFT is the Daily Do Now slides. These Do Now resources are an ideal way to maximize news literacy learning in the opening minutes of class. They can be used as formative assessment tools across subjects and grade levels. In this Do Now slide, students determine what type of information the example post is. The word sponsored signals it's advertising. Here is one example from the Daily Do Now slide supporting students' effective verification skills. Your teaching notes and instruction, along with extensions and support, can be found in the notes section of each slide. So, which image is real? What do you think? B, how did you do? I appreciate the explainer in the educator instructions section. I'll read that for you. It says, the rise of more convincing fake visuals created with AI technology means finding the source and context of an image is often more important than hunting for visual clues of authenticity. Any viral image that can't be verified through a reliable source using a reverse image search, for example, should be approached with skepticism. And there's more. In addition to the Daily Do Now slides, the Rumor Guard example slides are a classroom-ready resource that supplements the SIFT. These slides use real, trending examples of misinformation to guide students through the fact-checking process. Students get to see how reporters fact-check claims, learn news literacy skills, and become encouraged to put those skills into practice. I will briefly walk us through a few of the slides. First, the claim is shared, and students know right away that that viral claim is false. The next series of slides take students through that fact-checking process, modeling and demonstrating questions to ask about content, really support for getting curious. The slide includes support for verification, like using keywords to Google search. There are discussion questions too, and even considerations. There are 2 Rumor Guard slide decks each week. The resource is cumulative, so you choose what works best for you and your curricular objectives. To access this, subscribe to the SIFT and register for Checkology. You can view archived posts and gain access to these fantastic instructional slides daily do now in Rumor Card. Let's move to the resource library. Notice you can browse by category. Let's look at a few examples of our infographics and posters. This accompanies the Checkology content lesson info zones. Many of our infographics and posters connect to a lesson or challenge, providing a visual support for learning. 6 things to know about AI. Share these news literacy takeaways with your students. Generative AI tools are not objective, reliably factual. Of course, it's not all bad. Content is easier than ever to create and fake. It signals a change in the nature of evidence. Reputable sources matter more than ever. Connected to a challenge in the content tab on Checkology. This infographic, Is It Legit?, gives us 5 steps for vetting a news source. Start with do a quick search. Conducting a simple search for information about a news source is a key first step in evaluating credibility. Just a reminder, to reach what I shared and more, select resources, category, and type. Now let's click on that content tab to access our free comprehensive online lesson platform that is designed to supplement your curriculum. The lessons found here are for middle and high school students. Checkology has over 20 lessons taught by experts in the field, along with even more extension activities and challenges for learners. The supplemental lessons can last 2 to 5 45-minute class periods. ELA, social studies, history, civics teachers, STEM teachers, and librarians all utilize our content. I will be highlighting 2 of our lessons, info zones. In this lesson, students categorize information into one of 6 zones: news, opinion, entertainment, advertising, propaganda, or raw information. The next lesson I will share, Introduction to Algorithms. Students dive into the world of algorithms and generative artificial intelligence as they weigh the civic and social impact of these technologies. Let's head to checkology.org, register for that free account, and I'm going to go live so I can demonstrate the lessons. Here we are in our dashboard. I'm clicking on the content tab so you can see where all the lessons live, all of those Checkology full lessons. So in the content tab, if you scroll to learn, you will see those lessons I mentioned, the 2 to 5 45-minute class period lessons taught by experts in the field. You'll notice right here, those lines underneath the lesson, I just want to mention, that really shows and shares the complexity of the content. It isn't a grade band suggestion necessarily, just showing complexity. You also see we have practice and extensions, and those are exactly as they're named. They're practices and they extend the learning from those lessons. You'll also find the challenges in this section. And fact checks, another opportunity for students to continue on their learning journey. All of our lessons have full transcripts and lesson guides, which you can search for when you're in your dashboard or when you're in the resource library. I wanted to point out on InfoZones, this lesson guide that you would see our expert in the field, Tracy Potts, so you know who the lesson host is. You get the about information, the objectives, the essential questions. One of my favorite essential questions, does the purpose of a piece of information affect its credibility? You see the connections to the news literacy standard, as well as a lesson outline. So you have a nice overview of the content and concepts covered during the lesson. As I continue the scroll, you can see that there's a word wall. So that shows and shares those said concepts, that vocabulary that's introduced and explained and integrated during the lesson. Let's look at info zones. At the bottom, do you see those dots? Those are elements. This is 30 elements long. You also have access to the word wall, so students can open that if they want that support during the learning. And now we're going to go right into an introduction into InfoZones. Tracy Potts is going to start this lesson. Let's watch.
When I was starting out in journalism, we didn't have nearly as much information available to us. There was no internet, no email, no texting, no social media, not even YouTube. We got all our information from textbooks, books we bought or checked out from the library, magazines and newspapers we bought or subscribed to, TV shows we watched on just a handful of channels, and films we actually had to go to the movie theater to see. With no access to the internet, we also couldn't share information with a large group of people at one time. What that meant is that only professionals could share information for the public. They acted as gatekeepers, determining what to share with the public and what not to share. But now, anyone can share information, which means that more voices have been added to the mix, including yours and your classmates. It also means that you can't trust everything you read because, well, anyone, anywhere can post and share whatever they want, whenever they want.
Okay, so all of our lessons have formative assessments throughout. It really follows that introduction of content, concept, and then formative assessment to check for student understanding. So here you see where students would drag the primary purpose to match the appropriate example. And once they do that, when they hit next, it is auto-graded. Let's move to introduction to algorithms. Again, you can see who our host is. The expert in the field is Mia Sato. You get the about information, the learning objectives, the connection to the news literacy standards, essential questions. How much influence do algorithms have in my life? As I continue scrolling, you see that lesson outline. And you'll notice with this lesson, it really starts foundational with understanding what algorithms are. It's broken down by chapters, and then it enters into the attention economy, pitfalls, bias, rabbit holes, and feedback loops until we get to chapter 5 with generative AI, and of course, a conclusion. You'll also notice that rich vocabulary that accompanies this lesson, that is a part of this lesson. Let's dive into Introduction to Algorithms. Notice this is 41 elements long, a reminder, the word wall, and of course you have access to closed captioning too. We're going to go to chapter 2, what are algorithms? All right, let's hear from Mia Sato.
Okay, so what exactly are algorithms? How do they work? Well, in the simplest terms, an algorithm is a set of rules that a computer uses to automate certain processes. They're kind of like recipes, a series of steps that a program follows to do a particular job. So let's say I want to cook up a quick algorithm designed to get and keep your attention online. We'd need a half cup of popularity, 1 cup of search history, 2 tablespoons of interest, and just a dash of sensationalism.
I'm done! I have some things I really think you'll like.
And you just met algorithm personified. Mia Sato continues to talk about algorithms and even the history. So just as I mentioned, there are formative assessments. Here, students would simply identify what describes an algorithm, what an algorithm is. And we know, of course, it's a set of rules. Just a reminder, that is auto-graded, and students get that instant feedback. Let's jump ahead to chapter 5, where we are going into generative AI and learning more about that.
Oh, it looks like 2 things in your cart are now available for a lower price. Mia, this is Jen. Short for generative AI. She's so cool. If you thought the things I could do were impressive, just wait till you see what Jen can do. Bye. You want to see the Mona Lisa playing an electric guitar? But painted in the style of Van Gogh? Or comic book?
How did you...
How about a research paper on Toni Morrison? The War of 1812? Molecular biology?
Not bad, but you didn't include any citations or sources.
Done. Included those sources you asked for.
Wait a minute. Toni Morrison isn't from Illinois, she's from Ohio. And for this paper on the War of 1812, you cite a New York Times article, but did they actually even publish that?
That shrug. And I love the windbreaker suit. So students, of course, started with algorithms, understanding that. And as you saw from the outline, this lesson really builds upon one concept to the next. This formative assessment is open-ended. Students argue the potential risks and benefits of generative AI, and they use examples from the lesson to back up their claims. At the conclusion, students are asked what 3 actions they could take that they want to try to improve the overall quality of the search results or content algorithms serve them, and so they can make that determination for themselves. I gave an overview of our lessons, a quick overview, and just a reminder to access these lessons and more, Content tab, the Learn category, Practice and Extensions, and Fact Checks. You have access to all of that to support news and media literacy as you integrate that into the curriculum you teach. So how do you get students to the content? I would love to show and share that for you now. So go ahead and click on My Classes, and you will see this. Those of you with Clever, you're going to view and edit a course to access the content. That's the button you would need to click if you already see your classes populated. For those of you that do not see that, let's find the plus sign. We're going to add a class. We will title our class Student Type, Middle School, Grade Level, 7th grade, Subject, ELA. Course lock. What that means is students complete the learning in the order you decide. Open those advanced settings. Notice the pre and post assessment is toggled on. I do believe it's about 15 questions. Great information. Notice the one-to-many lesson mode. If you toggle that on, what that means is you're showing the learning videos through your screen, through your projector, and students have access to the formative assessments on their device. If you toggle this on, make sure that you go in and decide which lessons you want that mode for. So you have to select the lessons. So just a reminder of that. And then, of course, you are able to add co-teachers to your class. Advanced settings. Let's close that, and we're going to go ahead and create our class. Assign course. From here, you get a default course. We can change this course to other courses within the system, as well as you can see courses you've created. You can start from scratch, but let's customize this course. We need to rename it so it saves to our account. This gives us the opportunity to access at a future date. Put our description in and hit save. Now you see in the Checkology course editor where you can add content to your course. On the left-hand side, you see your content library. Right-hand side would be the lessons in your course. If you want to add something from the Learn section, simply drag that box over to the right. If you decide you don't want something in your course, you just hit that X and it is removed. You're able to reorder the lessons in your course as well. It's really intuitive. This auto saves. And so once you have the lessons you want your students to learn from, let's add students to the course. I'm going to go back to my classes. And then I'm going to find the class I created, 1AB. I'm going to manage my students. There's multiple ways to get students to content. Click Add Students. All right, so perhaps you have Clever, so students were already added. If not, you can invite students to join. Here you get a copy join link. You can put that wherever you put links for students and they're able to use their single sign-on. Additionally, you can add students directly, put their name, no need for an email. And then once you have your list, review and confirm, and you are emailed their login credentials. Students would then be able to get into Checkology. And if needed, if there's multiple teachers who want to utilize those login credentials, they can add their Checkology class, have students add their class by using that class code, giving that to students. So there's multiple ways to get students to content. Like I said, Clever, single sign-on, and then directly adding them so you're able to be emailed their login credentials. Checkology. There's so much here for you to utilize. In addition, I want to call out right here in Manage Account, click Manage Account, and then Video Preferences. You can change the video player that students have access to when viewing those lessons. So I'm set to YouTube, but notice there's Vimeo and Wistia. So just a reminder, Manage Account, and then Video Preferences. In addition to all of this, there is a gem in Checkology, and that is newsroom to classroom visits. You can schedule a newsroom to classroom visit either in person or online with one of our journalist volunteers. Filter by area of expertise, language, and even availability options in person or online. And then once you do that, and you find the person that makes sense, that connects to your curricular objectives, that supports the learning that you are facilitating, click and simply invite. And what an awesome opportunity to connect students to professionals in the field. All right, we covered a lot during our time together. Resources, content, journalists, you can browse by category, topic, grade level, duration, type standard. There's so much here for you, and I'm excited for you to dive in. Young people are growing up in the most complex information environment in history. They need the skills, knowledge, and dispositions to navigate this environment successfully. The News Literacy Project's free lessons and resources can help you teach news literacy across disciplines and grade levels. Thank you so much for joining us.